Welcome back to Life to the Full podcast. We're here today live to talk about things that matter in the world today. Usually we're talking about Christian principles that you can apply into everyday lives, but today we're changing that up a little bit. We're going to be talking about basically the exact same thing. So, Tim, tell us what we have in store for us today. See, Bang didn't sponsor us. Gave them plenty of time, plenty of opportunities.
They missed the boat.
They missed it.
That was professional.
And I decided that Monster now has their chance.
Monster, if you're watching this, this is your chance.
And if you
once, going twice, yeah, we'll wait on you.
We'll wait on you. We'll wait on you. Somebody, please, in this time of need.
Somebody just coughed. COVID.
Okay.
Not to make light of that.
Yep. And here we go.
Here we are. Welcome back to Life to the Full. It's always a pleasure to join you, especially since you are on isolation. I don't know how many folks remembered the old, what series was that on? I think it was Hee Haw. This is way before your all's time.
I can tell.
And there was a song that said, "We're not one to go around spreading rumors. Really, we're just not the gossipy kind." I changed that today. We're not one to go around spreading COVID. Really, we're just not virus spreading kind. No, we're sitting right here in our lockdown. Well, never mind. We'll get back to that.
Well, Sarah's back on.
Sarah's back. Welcome back, Sarah.
Good to be back.
Glad to have you back. I've had Sarah on probably everything that I've been doing for the last week. I feel like that's like the obligation of being my girlfriend now.
Yeah, it happens.
So, she's been on the last. We did an episode of Full Cup on Saturday. I put episode 1, not really though. It was kind of like a test run, just getting a feel. And then we did the actual first episode Tuesday, and I thought it was kind of smooth. I mean, I don't know what you thought.
I thought it was good.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good too.
Will we be providing cookies for the rest of the episodes?
What
Notice
cookies?
The cookies disappeared.
What cookies?
Story of my life. A day late and $1 short.
Well, the big thing I guess we're going to cover today is go ahead and tell us.
We got a good one. We got a topic today. I don't know that it's much of a title, but it's kind of a title, so let's use it as a title. And it is "The Rent is Due, but Many Americans Can't Pay the Bills."
Can't pay the bills.
And there's a lot going on right now. You know, we have been talking a whole lot about this coronavirus, COVID-19, and I'm really to the point where I'm almost sick of it. I want to hear some good news. I want to hear something else. But if you turn on your daily news feed, whatever that is, if it's Yahoo, MSN, I don't care what it is, if it's the television, if it's still the newspaper, if you still get one of those, it's all you hear about. What are the latest numbers? What is the latest facts and figures? And how much more do we have to worry about? How long is the lockdown going to last? And if you got teenagers in your house, oh my gosh, are we there yet? 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 It'll drive you crazy. And I am sick to death, even though this is a very serious thing. We're not making light of it. It's really important. We recognize that. It's a bad thing. And it's going around and it's affecting a lot of people, and there are a lot of unfortunate deaths. But it's causing some other things to go on too. So in a way, we're kind of taking a little bit of a break from the virus, and we're talking about the effects. And I don't mean the physical effects, sickness, headaches, whatever the case, dry cough. I'm talking about the effects, long-term effects that it's having on our families, our economies, our finances. And this affects everybody. This is not something that's isolated to the old. It's not something that's isolated to the young. I mean, everybody's got bills. If you're a person that's working and got a job, and especially if you're out of the home, a lot of times even young folks at home, they have bills. And so these bills have to be paid, and everything's being shut down. It's bad. It's bad.
Yeah.
And, here's the thing. I mean, there are a lot of jobs out there right now. I have one of those jobs that they call, what's the catchphrase? Essential. And so, but a lot of folks out there have jobs, and they're extremely important, but they may not be considered essential. And so businesses are closing their doors in order to keep up with the requests from our governor, non-essential businesses, non-essential activities, social distancing, all of that stuff. And so a lot of places are closing their doors, and it's making it hard on the family. I mean, there is unemployment for a lot of folks, but that doesn't equal the amount of money that they was making. If you've ever made unemployment or got an unemployment check, it's a percentage of what you're normally making. And so costs are going up and things are going crazy, and people are starting to feel the financial pinch. And it's a big pinch. It's a big pinch. And, here's the thing I've noticed, too, that a lot of folks, I think we're starting to get to the place to where everybody's taking it serious.
Right.
I think people are now
closer.
They may be washing their hands now. They may be trying to practice some social distancing. But I think probably the biggest thing that I've noticed is the youngest generation just doesn't quite take it serious yet. I mean, you saw all this stuff going on in Florida.
What was that?
I mean, did you catch any headlines? And younger than you all. I'm talking about young folks out there. I mean, did you see all the stuff about what was going on in Florida?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, people are still partying, and they are trying to come across intelligent. I don't care if I get COVID, dude. As long as I can still party, that's what matters. Mm-hmm. Righteous.
There's a lot of ignorance.
There is. And here's the thing. This is not down to just the young people, because where's the leadership?
Right.
Where's the leadership in that country? State? What's going on there that this is being allowed to happen? And it just boggles my mind that, even the older adults weren't really taking this thing serious. Now, I've got a theory on that. This is spring break time for Florida. A lot of money to be made in Florida during spring break. Mm-hmm. And so I saw a thing that was actually just today. It was in today's headlines. I don't know if you caught it or not, but just today, the Florida governor, what's his name, Ron DeSantis, ordered a statewide shutdown after insisting the White House hasn't advised him to take bold action. What's your thoughts on that? You think the White House didn't advise him? You think he didn't know?
Well, I mean, if you want my personal opinion, I think they've made this virus a political weapon. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't say that that's the case at all, to be honest.
Well, here's a guy he sees the news, right?
Mm-hmm.
He understands what's going on around the country. He's getting reports. He's getting facts and figures mm-hmm. about people who are infected, the number who have died as a result of this virus. So how can he say he wasn't informed? How can you say, well, nobody told me to shut this stuff down?
Yeah.
Realistically, you're the governor.
Everybody probably told him, honestly. Truthfully, if you want to be honest about it.
It becomes a blame game and pointing the fingers at somebody else.
Yeah.
And, well, I wasn't told, or nobody told me to take a bold action. You're the governor. Who needs to tell you how to run your state? I mean, come on. This is straightforward stuff. This is typical blame game. And, I didn't look. I don't know what party he's with, because it's not about politics. It's not about politics anymore. I think you're right. I'm sick of turning on the TV and hearing somebody put a political spin on what's going on in the country right now. Mm-hmm. That's ridiculous. It's a Republican issue. It's a Democrat issue. Trump should have done more. Pelosi's doing this, doing that. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of seeing videos of Sleepy Joe in his basement. He thinks we're fighting polio.
Yeah.
And he's starting to tell people what he would do, and he can't form a complete sentence. And then there's an attack coming back because of that. Get the politics out of it. It's time for us to deal with the problem that we have. This is not a red issue. It's not a blue issue. It's an American issue.
And that's where we give Andy Bashir right now a lot of credit, too. Because he's made it a, we're all in this together type of thing. Yeah. They've tried to make or line him up for chance to be political, and he's just not taking it.
Yeah, I applaud what he's doing. Again, I don't care whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. If you're doing a good job, we're not going to smear you and say you're not.
Right.
I think Andy's doing a great job. I think Donald Trump is doing as good a job as he can with what's going on right now. He's got a lot on his shoulders.
Well, the thing that
want to criticize.
The things that wear me out about that, they're like, we've been calling for,
borders closed, this and that since January and everything else, and then we track back to where Donald Trump actually did that against China, banned flights from there.
And he was ridiculed
and
for that.
He was called xenophobic and racist because he did it. And now, like, he's the genius, but guess what? They would have done it differently or done it right, this and then. It's just like, just shut up. Like, honestly.
Armchair quarterbacks.
Yeah.
That's all that everybody seems to be anymore. But look at the economic impact. We talked about this. Everybody has got bills to pay. You may not have much. Maybe you've got car insurance and a car payment, or maybe you've got a mortgage, or maybe you've got rent. Whatever it is, these are huge. I mean, there are people in our family that I've talked to that they've altered their work schedules, if they allow them to work at all. And they're having less hours. I mean, things are getting tough on people out there. And there's something to be talked about here, because once this virus, once there is a vaccine, once all of that is behind us, we're going to feel the effects of what this virus did in our economy for years to come.
Yeah.
It's not something that's going to go away overnight. And we're looking at the stimulus package. I don't know. I don't remember the exact figures on that everybody's going to get a check.
$2 trillion is known of, and I think there's another 4 million behind doors that people aren't aware of.
And again, they try to turn it political, so you don't like socialism. This is not socialism. This is a stimulus during a difficult time.
Yeah.
But I just don't understand how people can get on that political side of that. But here's the thing, and this is what we've been trying, or well, not we, but folks have been trying to say about socialism for quite some time. Money's not free. Okay, it has to come from somewhere. It comes from the taxes of the working people. It goes into the government. It's dispersed out of the government in a lot of different directions. But that money's not free. I mean, everybody keeps talking about free this, free that, free healthcare, free. And a lot of these ideas, not that all of them don't have merit or potential or possibilities, but nobody seems to get hold of the fact that nothing's free.
Yeah.
Everything costs money, and the money comes from your taxes. So when your taxes aren't enough, your taxes go up.
Yeah. Well, I know they were talking.
They
were talking a lot about how people just aren't really necessarily aware that, like, for example, either your taxes, in your income are either going to go up, or when you get that tax rebate, kind of like when you're doing your yearly tax, you're getting your taxes done. There's going to be a huge chunk taken out of that, to redo and kind of refund what you're getting from this stimulus package. Yeah. So, people are going to enjoy this $1,200 in the moment, probably go blow it or whatever. They're going to spend it the same way they would their tax checks when they got them back before. Mm-hmm. But they're going to be really disappointed when, come around next year, if we're trying to recover from this, and now they're not getting $3,000, but like $1,200, and they're going to be like, what happened? What changed? And we'll be like, well,
there's a trade-off. There's a trade-off. I mean, we're trying to do things now to help us in the here and now, but then there's a future, and we had to pay for these things. And I think this started years ago, and this is both a Democrat and a Republican problem. We started printing money.
Yep.
If we didn't have enough money, we just printed some more.
Yep.
But there's a big problem with that too, because it's backed by gold, and there's only so much gold, and so the value goes down. But look at not only the effects of people that are out of work, people that used to have a job that now don't.
Yeah.
And a lot of these smaller companies, they can't pay people that are off work. You work, you get paid.
Yep.
If you don't work, you don't get paid. And it's not cruelty. A lot of these smaller companies, mom and pop type stuff, they can't afford, they don't have the means to pay out and pay multiple employees a salary while they're not having anything come in. So it's a big deal. But even for people that are working, I was talking with some folks just, it's been about a week ago now, but the hits that's been taken on 401ks. People were planning on retiring. They had all these plans laid out, and now 401ks, we're talking about losses of
like 30% for some of them, and some even more.
So you're looking at figures for a lot of folks that have just put back and tried to save. They're not rich. They put it back and did without. And so then they had this big cache of money, whatever it may be. Some people have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that's money that they put back themselves. So, plans have been changed, retirements, just huge impacts all the way around. Stocks have gone way down. 401ks are just a fraction of what they used to be. And we're talking about, and this is something to me that I don't think is all bad. we're talking about some lifestyle changes
Yeah.
for some folks.
A lot less luxurious.
Yeah.
Which is good.
And I think it's a good wake-up call, too, even for children.
Yeah.
I mean, a necessity is food, not an iPhone.
Yeah.
And so just an iPhone becomes a necessity because it's been there since they were young.
Yep.
And we've sheltered, probably, a lot of us. And we want our kids to have everything they can have. But I think there's a strength that comes out of this. My mom and dad was born during the Depression.
Mm-hmm.
They lived through that. So they became a little more frugal, and they didn't throw money around. And then when it came time to retire, my dad has since passed away, but the money he saved right now is paying for my mom's care in a rest home because he put that money back. And that was a lifestyle that is probably going to come back. People are going to be hanging on to some stuff. There's going to be some serious lifestyle changes for the adults, and especially for teenagers and young people. Things are going to change. I mean, it's already changing. I mean, just with the social distancing.
Yeah.
Young people like to get in big crowds and have a good time, and
You still see them driving to parking lots and, sitting in the trunks of their cars,
but
kind of
that's part of what worries me too, because a lot of them
They're not
haven't
getting it.
really
Yeah.
kind of attached to the idea that this is a big thing and there needs to be social distancing.
Yeah.
It's
Well, let me ask you this, because I know we're talking about the effects of things, kind of just not so much the virus, but the effects of it. I kind of had a couple questions with, right now, from what we're gathering, China hasn't delivered anywhere remotely accurate information on the virus.
no.
So
That's coming not from a conspiracy theory, but
That's
from
just-
doctors inside.
yeah, they're
China.
quite literally saying what they gave them did not prepare them at all, in no way, shape, or form, even remotely close to what they've had to experience.
Yeah.
And then you look at America, whose population, I believe, is significantly smaller than, I guess the Asian population, more China. But,
Absolutely.
the fact that what have we reached now in, I think, double the amount of cases that China's had. So that leads me to wonder, was China really reporting the right amount of cases when they have a higher population density?
One of the doctors was actually quoted as saying, and this was a doctor, it's not propaganda, wanted to remain anonymous. They reported 4,000 deaths, and he says it's closer to 40,000.
Yeah. It has to be. I mean, there's just no other way. And I mean, you look at that too, but they're also talking about how right now there's a lot of people that are asymptomatic carriers, that China's reported at least 1,300 of them.
Yeah.
So that leads us to wonder now, okay, so we know what the virus can do if you get it, but there are other things, it can just sit on you and you never experience a thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
even Governor Bashir mentioned that in one of his things where he's kind of you can be a carrier and never know it. You can never have a symptom.
That's right.
And that leads you to wonder, how long is this thing going to last? Well, we know that Trump said the next 2 weeks. He's just finally being upfront with people, because you want to be the hope and kind of the light, but now he's being these next 2 weeks are going to be painful. We're hearing that this could come back again in the fall. So what are the effects that are to come if we're looking at this first wave and we see the effect that it's taking? Can America or even the world economy take another hit like this one?
Yeah, absolutely. And, actually, President Trump received a lot of positive feedback from liberal news outlets because they said this is a different Donald Trump.
Yeah.
He is actually speaking in softer tones, and the bravado is gone, and you can see that he's got this weight on him. And they literally could empathize with what he was trying to do. And there was a noticed respect from those asking the questions, and then an honest answer.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of things are changing, and that's what we're talking about. There's a lot of change, not just in lifestyles. You look at the worry and the fear that's on people out there now. People are tore up about this thing, and it's serious. So you can't say, well, that's silly. Then you go over into those that don't give it any concern. But you look at what's going on in the grocery stores. I saw some videos today of people fighting over toilet paper. I might fight you over some
it's not even bad
pizzas.
yet. They just don't get how it's not even bad yet.
Yeah.
We're looking at the it kind of sucks, people have lost their jobs, whatever. You have an initial fear, but I mean, like, based on just some of the predictions, and I love putting hope into people. I want everybody to have a positive light, and we're going to talk about that.
We're going to come to that. Yeah, absolutely.
But we also do want to be honest with people. Like, it's going to get worse before it gets better. We have to
understand the gravity of where we are before we even begin to look at the hope that we have. And then that way we know where we've come from.
Well, let's mention this.
What God's done for us.
Right. So let's mention this, too, though. This is another thing I want to bring up. So, like we said, China reported, 4,000 deaths, kind of just the idea, this and that. We see that that's far excelled in Italy and other places. The White House reporting, this is coming from the White House, so this is just being like with doctors and those like looking at upwards to, and this is a drastic difference, but between 100,000 to 240,000 deaths by the time that all this is over. And this is they're talking about future waves, etc., whatever also. But I mean, I think they said that by August they would expect somewhere in the upper 80,000 range.
And so, I mean, there's obvious cause for concern. Yeah. So when people are caught up in this worry and fear, we're not to be into worry and fear, but there is a concern. I mean, even though we are not made to carry worry and fear around with us, we got a brain.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing wrong with trying to protect yourself and your family, especially the older members of your family. That would be me.
Well, the thing is, a lot of people want to, contradict God and science, like those two can't coexist.
Oh, but they perfectly align.
They perfectly align. And that's what people need to understand is that, like, there are, faith over fear is crucial, and you can believe for those miracles or divine protection from this thing, whatever, this and that, and that's great. And as you should. And a lot of times that'll work for you. But there are situations where it's like, use your wisdom. If you're...
God gave you a brain.
Yeah. If you're a 20-year-old individual and you think, oh, well, I've been praying for my protection, so I'm not going to carry this over to my grandparents, this and that, or whatever. I mean, you got to be a little bit more kind of in the know.
Use that brain, no doubt about it. I mean, people are a little silly sometimes when it comes. You can be silly in so many different ways, and I think a lot of times, like what you're hitting on right there, there's protection. There are the promises of God, but we don't walk across the interstate with a blindfold on either. I mean, we have to use our brain that God gave us. That's part of the protection.
Exactly.
Here's an idea. Follow a few of these common sense protocols and stay safe.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not hard. Well,
it's not.
Let's ask Sarah. You haven't got to speak for literally 15 minutes with me and Dad going back and forth.
Wake up, Sarah.
I'm good.
She was a little tired too. Everybody here has been a little tired today. It has been a long day. It has really been a long day. Just a lot of things going on. So with that being said, like, kind of what's your opinion on just this? I know, like, so for example, I think initially you were taking this more serious than I was. And now you're starting to feel the effects of cabin fever and these other things. So, like, what do you think you could foresee coming, more or less? If you're trying to put hope into people, what would you say? I know that's like throwing you on the spot. That's a really deep question.
I have to think.
It's okay. I'd have to think too.
Okay, so as far as hope goes with the virus, obviously, use your head. I mean, we're not practicing the whole 6 feet apart thing right now.
Right.
But then again, we're not gathered in a crowd of more than 10 people.
Right. Well, and that's the big thing too. Like, what people don't understand is when it comes between us three. Like, you two are literally the only people that have physical interaction with.
Right.
Literally at any time. So Dad will come over every day, I know that. I know he goes to work, comes here, goes home. Those are his locations.
But I do the right things. I wash my hands.
Wash his hands, does all those protections. You're literally either stuck at home, and I think it's the first time you've been over here in a little over a week at least, right?
A week and a half, something
week
like that.
Week and a half, yeah. And, I mean, that's it. There really is no other physical interactions going on in my life for sure. I avoid the grocery store because I see how people are acting there.
And cabin fever is really getting to a lot of people.
It's really bad, especially for extroverts. A lot of the introverts are like, they're like, you just embrace the dark. I was born in it. It's like, okay, so there we go.
Oh, I noticed that Stephanie and the girls are doing like a 1,000,000-piece puzzle.
Oh my gosh.
Excuse me?
They're doing, well, it's not really 1,000,000 piece.
I mean, I knew that. But
something.
It's a bunch. They're little bitty pieces. And, that's great for some people, but
not even quarantine can make me do a puzzle like that. I can't do that.
It would be easier for me to walk through the hospitals. I mean, just through all of these, rather than do a puzzle. I think if I had a choice, I'd put on a mask and take my chances. I just.
Well, let me ask you this. I was watching truthfully, I watched the Daily Wire Ben Shapiro show today, and he was talking about how, it's obviously not realistic. It's not even possible, for them to kind of keep doing these stimulus packages over time. They're talking about it firing back up in the fall. So where do you see, I guess, like what would be the game plan? Like, we know the effects of the virus. We see what it's doing right now. So what's the effects in the future if this does fire back up? How are we going to approach it?
Well, there's two schools of thought. One is that it doesn't fire back up, but it runs into the fall. The other one is that it'll be more like a flu, that it'll go away and it'll come back in the fall.
Kind of seasonal.
But the economic effect that you just talked about, how does that play into it, and what's the future hold for us there? So our hope is simply this, that things get better quickly, people get back to work, and if that happens, the economy will take off. It'll be kind of like the old defibrillator to the heart. When money starts flowing and consumers feel like it's safe, you're going to see people have been trapped in their houses for months.
Yeah.
So you're going to see people going on shopping sprees like they never have before, spending on all kinds of silly stuff. And you're going to see the economy begin to bounce back pretty quickly, I believe. But we still have that deficit of all the stimulus that goes out, and those monies will have to be made back. That's another little bit of a sticky wicket. But if it goes deep into the fall, or this thing continues in some form or fashion, it's difficult on the economy. I don't want to use the recession word, but that'll make things difficult to come back.
Yeah,
and it'll take a long time for those things to come back. They will.
Yeah.
Well,
they realized when the economy was as good as it was before all this went down, it allowed people to kind of start businesses or to do things a little easier. So, it's going to take basically bolder people when all this is said and done to take those risks again, because a lot of people, when the economy comes off a recession, aren't too excited. They're still waiting to see it climb, So you're going to have probably a, much like you see like a virus curve, how it starts off really slow and then like shoots up. It's going to be one of those things economically.
It should be very similar, and there will be people on the front end that have the money, that'll be buying up stocks knowing that there's a good chance for a big quick gain, and then there'll be others that'll see that and jump on. So you're right, it'll be a curve a lot like the virus as far as the economy.
Well, let me ask you this too. We look at other viruses that have been here, Ebola, swine flu, etc., or whatever, all these things. What makes this one so different that we literally shut down so much that we almost can cripple the world economically in comparison to those?
I think it's fear. I don't think that the death rate is drastically higher as you go across the board looking at these different diseases. Some was higher than what this is. I think it's fear, though, because we have a media now that's putting out all the information, which is good, provided the information is true. But a lot of people are afraid because this is a virus that attacks the lungs, difficulty breathing. That causes a whole lot of people to become anxious just talking about it. And this is something that gets into the lungs, can create pneumonia, and all sorts of adverse and even some lasting side effects, damage to the lungs. So I think this one's just a little bit more. There's several points, and I won't keep going, but one is it's worldwide. And so they see these things happening all over the world, and now we can go right into another country simply by clicking on a button, and we can see people that are suffering, struggling, and we begin to think about our families. We didn't have that ability so many years ago, and so now that's present for us, and it's a real and present danger that we can see just with a mouse and the click of a mouse, and we can see how it's affecting some people. And I think that while information, knowledge is power, it can also bring fear.
Well, I was going to say too, Sarah, you might remember this conversation, but we heard, I guess, that kind of the idea is that the whole point of social distancing is not so much to kill off the virus, because long story short, it's going to have to run its course. It's kind of just mainly to not overwhelm hospitals. Stuff like that. So if that's, if that is the case, then you do want to do your best to social distance, because we see how it's already affecting New York in a lot of ways. I think Tennessee turned like a parking garage into like a makeshift hospital just for extra beds and stuff. So that's the whole point of social distancing, in the sense of if you were to catch this and you're in critical condition, you want to be taken care of. You don't want to be one of the, where they're fighting to get whatever, like the respiratory things, whatever, that kind of keep you alive, help you breathe. You know, you don't want to have to. Yeah, you don't want to have to be dealing with that issue. You want them to have what they need on supply.
You want to go to the doctor or the hospital and get something that'll
when you're getting adequate care. So I mean, like, you know, if you want that, then be generous enough to know that these people right now need that also.
Absolutely.
So just that's the only thing. Really keep that part in mind. I think that's what's crucial.
And you know, you've got this is something that's new.
Yep.
So that's not like the flu. We have the flu every year. Even though the flu takes a lot of lives, well, we have it every year. We know that this is something that's new.
Yeah.
And with the newness of it all comes a new, threat, a new fear, and so people are struggling with that. But so you got all these effects that we're just talking about. You got what's going on in people's lives individually. We've talked about the economy, what's going on in the economy. And then you got to come right back to the fact that people still have bills to pay. So what's going to happen? And this is a really good question. What's going to happen to people when we can't pay our bills? Meaning, i.e., will there be repossessions? Will there be foreclosures? Will credit scores be damaged? Or will there be some sort of a break for the economy that, we know you're late, everybody's late.
Otherwise.
So this is not going to impact your credit. All these are things.
A lot of bankruptcy otherwise.
Oh, yeah. And these are things that working people are concerned about.
Yep.
We don't have all those answers, but there are certainly a bunch of really good questions to be asking. And it's on people's minds. Folks are worried. They're worried how they're going to make the ends meet, pay the bills, and don't want to have a fist fight over a roll of toilet paper. It's a tough time. It's perilous times out there. Like I said, I'm not going to fight you over the toilet paper, but the last Supreme Pizza, we might have to go.
There's definitely going to be some problems.
I'm going to show you the Mike Tyson going to come out of this is all I can say.
Couple rounds minimum for sure.
I'm just going to come out and I'm going to hit you with a left cross. Everybody got a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
That's pretty true. Well, hey, let's go ahead because I don't know how much time we've used already, and I know you want to cover some stuff. So
is that what you're saying? Let's bring it
not
home.
Even so much bringing it home as much as let's just hit like what you got here if you missed anything or whatever.
All I wanted to do was bring just out a few points. We've talked about all the negative. We've talked about all the fear. We've talked about all the uncertainty of the future. We've talked about the damage that's been done, the potential for even greater damage down the line, both in
to know you're not alone. Everyone's going through this.
Yeah, and it's everybody. And how are you going to pay the bills? What's going on with the economy? Where are we going to end up at? And all of these things are concerns, and are real concerns. And this is a world event of biblical proportions. So a lot of people are starting to see that and say that now. And like we've mentioned before, is this a wake-up call? Well, I'm not saying that there's not a little bit of an opportunity there for a wake-up call, but let's bring her home with this. I think it's in Revelation chapter 6, and there's a scripture there that I'm paraphrasing, but it says a piece of bread will buy a bag of gold. Actually, what it says is more of a loaf for a day's wages. So are we there yet? I can't answer that. I don't know. Certainly not today.
Yeah.
Well, let me add, saying that.
I know you want to keep rolling, but let me add this. So like when I did a lot of studying in Revelations, and I think a lot of it is more kind of like a tribulation period type of thing. You see the first couple chapters addresses to the church, but then it really starts talking about a tribulation period, the 7 years that we know of. But the importance of the scripture is that we've already seen that does exist.
Yeah.
This exists in everyday life today. Some people literally have to line up for things.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
This is kind of one of those scriptures that you can look at and be like, this doesn't mean that just because this might be a future problem here and there or whatever, that this isn't a possibility coming. Right. But continue.
But it's worldwide now, and it's become a big issue. So I just want to share a few thoughts. All the bad news. All we hear is bad news, and everything seems to be another increase in numbers, another big hit on this or that. But there is good news. And I go back to the scripture, and this is one that I think needs to be repeated. I think it's one that people need to write down, look up, meditate on. It's something for such a time as this. And it comes out of Psalm. David said this in Psalm 37:25. And this is so powerful because I'm not going to preach on this. I was young, and now I am old. Yet I have never seen the righteous forsaken or their children begging for bread. Why is that so important? Well, David saw a lot. What he's basically saying is I've seen the good and the bad. I've seen times of plenty and times of little. But one thing I've noticed in all of that, one constant truth remains, that God will never forsake his people. And that's an absolute promise from God. And he not only says that, he goes a step further and he says, not only have the righteous never been forsaken, but their children are eaten because of their righteousness. God's promises are faithful through generations. And so I look at that scripture, and that's the first one that came to me when we were talking about this topic that really stood out. You know, people are worried about the future. Well, stand on this promise. If you're worried about the future, how you're going to eat, where your next meal's coming from, how you're going to pay your bills, you can stand on this scripture.
Yeah.
David said it. He was young and now he's old, and he's never seen the righteous. But God is faithful.
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to. We may not be able to explain how he's going to do it, but he is.
Well, Scripture also says, you know, he makes sure that the birds of the air even get to eat. You know, so how much more he cares for us.
I actually even had that in one of these scriptures.
Yeah.
And so my advice would be Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, familiar scripture. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding. And in all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. What does that mean? He's going to take care of you. You trust in him. Don't get caught up in all the worry and the fear. Yeah, use your brain and protect yourself to the best of your ability, but give it to him. Trust in him, not your own understanding, because we can't see the way out of this. But he can lead us out of this. It says he makes our path straight. So we're walking on the path or the plan that he has for us. And I don't want to keep going. I'm not going to. I won't even read all these scriptures. Psalm 34:10, the young lions suffer want and hunger, but those who seek the Lord lack no good thing. So yeah, there's going to be people out there, strong people that we respect, that might go through some things. If you don't know the Lord, you know, I would say this is a great opportunity. And I'm going to skip the next scripture and just jump right straight into finishing this up and bringing this home. Since this whole topic began, we've gone to Romans 8:28. As a matter of fact, Romans 8:28 has been a constant theme in most of these podcasts, whether it's dealing with relational issues, difficulties, changes of plans, whatever it is, you pick the topic. Romans 8:28 seems to be a common chord or thread that runs through a lot of these podcasts. And it says, we know, Romans 8:28, that all things work together for good for those that love the Lord and who are called according to his purpose. So that's been a common thread. Not all things are good, meaning there will be problems, there will be issues, there will be viruses, there will be financial ramifications, there will be things that come on us in this world. Those things may not be good. A car wreck ain't good. The loss of a loved one certainly ain't good. But what the scripture is telling us is not that things won't happen, but it's saying that out of those things, God will bring good, and he will bring good to those that love him and who are called according to his purpose. So let's just bring my part of this, kind of put some icing on this cake. Yeah, this is a difficult time. Yeah, there are a lot of unanswered questions. Yeah, there are difficulties in our personal lives. We're dealing with, at the very least, isolation, cabin fever, all the stuff that goes along with that. We'd like to kill the people that's sitting beside us. We wish we could get away from them for 5 minutes. If we don't, we might wring their neck. And that's from people who love one another. I'm so sick of looking at you and hearing your mouth. If you say one more word, this is all said under your breath, of course. You're certainly not going to say this to somebody out loud that you love, but you're like, if I can just get my hands around that neck, I can snap and get quiet in here for just a minute. But, I mean, there's bad things out there, and we get that. But out of this, good will come. It's not a time for the Christian to panic. It's a time for the Christian to look for the good. Where is this going to be? You alluded to this a couple of episodes ago. You can't buy any toilet paper. Well, there's milk now. But the shelves are cleared of Bibles.
Yep.
People are reaching out. If you can't see the good for the good already starting to come out of this, take your blinders off.
Yeah.
I mean, people are turning to the Lord, back to the Lord. So this is a difficult time, and don't misunderstand this, but it's also a wonderful time because there are people who are going to give their lives to the Lord.
Yeah, for sure.
Because of all that's going on. People that haven't prayed maybe in years or ever are going to lift up a prayer because of what's going on. Out of this will come good. I believe that we're going to see revivals. I believe that the churches are going to start to fill back up.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's something that lasts. After 9/11, churches filled back up real quickly, and then just like the curve on the virus went right back down real quickly. Hopefully people will remember what God has done in their lives as they begin to see the deliverance, the good, the things that are going on. So people are getting saved. And I believe this too. I'm going to go out on a limb here because I know we have a lot of folks who may not believe in the power and majesty and awesomeness of God, but it's time for us to start to see some of that again. Some people just want this nice little faith where I go to church on Sunday, live however I want to the rest of the week, and then God is something that when I open that book, I can read about Him, close it, I don't have to listen to it. But here's the thing. I believe we're going to begin to see supernatural things happen on the earth. I believe because of His promises. If His promises says, I've never seen the righteous begging for bread, and you're shut into your home and you run out of bread, bread's going to come from somewhere. Now, it may be as simple as a knock on the door, a neighbor that didn't even know, I don't know why I'm giving you this, but I'm giving you this. God will find a way to make, He watches over His word.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. And it will not return to Him void, according to the Scripture. So if God says He's going to provide for you, He's your source, He's your provider, He's going to get her done. And if He can't find a neighbor to bring it to your house and set it on your table, knock on the door, leave a bag full of groceries, however He chooses to do it, He's going to make it happen. So I believe we're going to see some supernatural things take place on the earth during this time if things get worse. No doubt in my mind, because He will provide for the saints. And I think that's another thing that's going to win people over when they begin to see some of these supernatural acts, things that happened like they happened in the book of Acts. People's going to go,
Wait a minute now. Maybe there's something to this Jesus.
Well, I think I want to add something too. This is going to be, first off, I want to say don't be scared to ask for help.
Yeah,
if anybody's out there and you need it, like there's a lot of things that I know that Carrollton's doing in particular, but at the same point, like don't be scared to ask for help, especially in your communities. I think now is an excellent time also to really be able to judge the hearts of people. You'll see if you're reaching out to someone and just how they respond. So I mean, you might find that some of the relationships you had were a lot more shallow, and not as deep as you thought they were. Right. And don't get me wrong, like we understand that people are in situations you can't help everybody, especially when everyone is struggling. But I think now's a time to kind of see, like you don't want to, if someone else is in that financial bind where they literally can't help, that's one thing. But I think that we've seen just from, there's a lot of social media videos out there where you look like the people that are the most in need are usually the ones that are the most generous. Yeah. So like you give them, they'd give a guy like $100 and then immediately he would go buy a bunch of food and disperse it among like the other homeless people in the community. So I mean, now is really just a chance to be able to kind of see how people really are, like what their true colors are also.
Absolutely. And if nothing else were to come out of this, say everything turns around, praise God if it does. Yeah. Families who have spent time together are ultimately going to become closer than they ever was before. So let's put Sarah on the spot. I know she loves it when we do that. Sarah, and be honest, have you wanted to kill anybody in your family yet? I hope they're watching.
I wouldn't go as far as saying killing, but I definitely was like, all right, I need at least 30 minutes away from you guys right now. Like I'll go out to the barn. Yep. I look up, they're waving at me. Yeah. They're like, I'm like,
Sarah, you're still not away.
Well, I went over there yesterday.
We see you.
Yeah.
I went over there yesterday, got to meet her parents. I know it's not the first time, but it felt like it because I don't remember them growing up or whatever.
Right.
And it was just like the first thing we all wanted to do was play cards together. We're all sitting there wanting to play cards. And we're sitting there and she looks over at me. She's like, are you not antsy? Like, do you just want to, like, I can't keep sitting here, and I'm like, she's saying that while they're sitting at the table with us, and I'm just like, I'm having a blast. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, it's awesome. But I mean, for me, it was a new social interaction, this and that, so I can tell she got like her fill of family time for the day, where she's just like, literally, like, let's go play ping pong or something, which is what we ended up doing.
We were sitting there for 3 hours.
It didn't feel like 3 hours to me, but for her, she's like, it's been a week.
I'm like,
it's been a week here.
I'm like, Chase, we have got to get away from them for like 5 minutes.
I was like, I don't
Well,
even
hey,
know why she's upset about it.
Look at how well she answered that question. Notice that she didn't call anybody by name or anything like that. Like, I wanted to kill so-and-so,
Yeah.
and so-and-so's driving me nuts. So good answer there.
Thank you.
I mean, you didn't call anybody out. You played it safe so you can still go home, even though you don't want to.
Right.
It's good stuff. It really is.
I'm like, this is like a vacation for me at this point.
Well, it's nice. I mean, but at the same point, yeah, social distancing. So yeah, I guess you have to like limit who you bring yourself around for sure.
And you do, and there will be tough times as far as in this building process with the family.
But the good stuff's coming.
The good stuff's there, and you'll come out tighter because of it, closer and tighter knit,
Oh yeah.
tighter and stretched
I
duct
mean,
tape.
it's not all bad,
That's
because
right.
I'm used to not living with them anymore because of college.
Right.
So we have to learn how to live together again, and it's hilarious.
And that's part of the lifestyle change. I know that my oldest daughter Bailey, she's same scenario. College, had her own place down there. Everything was going her way. She had this life, and all of a sudden that's over.
Yep.
That's over, and nobody can say when it's coming back. Now it will come back, but can you imagine? And so, yeah, she's going to be a little grumpy.
It's so
and
much
now
on
you got
postpone.
the two
She's
sisters
stuck.
together now.
Oh my goodness. And it was like, when she came home for the holidays or whatever, you were kind of dreading it a little bit because they're both going to be in the same house. I mean, I moved out because of it. But I mean, like, you knew there was a storm brewing. You're
There's
just
a
like,
storm a brewing.
I'd come home, I'd see Bailey's car in the driveway, and I'd just be like,
Here we go.
and I love them to death, honestly, and I think they will get closer as it goes on. But I mean, they have lived together pretty much all the way up until Bailey went to college, and
Well, but that's just part of it. Brothers and sisters,
Oh,
they
yeah.
love each other, but they still fight.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, you need your own space for
Oh,
sure,
you
especially from your brothers. You love them to death. You'll have a bond with them. You won't share with anybody else, but you definitely need your space.
But people, to Sarah's point, as much as you love them, can you get out of my face for just a few minutes?
I need just 30 minutes, and they're peeking out the window while you're in it.
Hi, Sarah.
You're just like, I'm about to close the door. Like, I'm gonna go around the corner so you can't see me.
That's awesome stuff. That's interesting.
But I would say this is what I would encourage people to do, especially if you think that you're going to be in a situation where you're going to have to struggle or anything, this and that. I mean, we heard the proverb, you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. You teach him to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. I think now, more than ever, is important that if you have the capability to teach your kids and to teach your family or whatever how to hunt, how to fish, how to do those things, how to farm even, like grow little gardens in your yard. If you're stuck with family, I think that's a great thing to do.
It's coming up on that season, no doubt about
Yeah,
that.
so it's like embrace what we have here. I mean, I caught myself doing yard work. You'll do anything kind of to distract yourself a little bit.
The first miracle.
What I need is a push mower and a weed eater.
You don't need no
I can't
push
finish
mower.
it. I can't finish the work without it.
I'll bring you a weed eater. I got one.
There you go. The first miracle.
I got you.
He's
Let's
doing yard work without being forced.
Well, it was a nice day outside, and honestly, you get tired of sitting inside. I mean, I've been reading a lot more, so that's been
It's
great.
a miracle.
But leave it where it lie. It's fine. You do one thing. I cleaned up that gazebo, though. I'm really happy about that.
That's right.
That's gonna be a big thing.
Hey, let's summarize.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad things going on, but end of the day, David said it. I agree with it. He was young, and now he's old. He's never seen the righteous forsaken, nor their children begging for bread. God's got a plan.
Yep.
He's going to take care of people. He's not panicked. He's not in a cave somewhere drinking bottled water and eating beef jerky trying to figure out what to do. I mean, he knows what's going on. He's not shocked. He's not worried. He's got a plan. And his promises are yes and amen, and they don't disappoint. We have a hope that does not disappoint in Jesus Christ. He will take care of his people. He will make sure that you have food. You will have what you need. He is our provider. He is our source, not the stock market, not all these other different things that we want to point at. And that's when we're leaning to our own understanding. My job, my bank account, the stock market, whatever it is, that's not your source. God is your source. He will take care of you. He will see you through this. He wouldn't have brought you to it if he wasn't going to see you through it. So that's what people need to stand on. Yeah, these are difficult times. We'll see a lot of difficult things and things that are hard to look at. But God, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt, Psalm 81:10, Open your mouth wide, and I will fill it.
Yeah. Well, I like that. I want to encourage people to join us Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. for Full Cup with me.
Full cup.
Yeah, Sarah's gonna be there also. She if she's not physically on the phone with me during the actual event, she'll probably be in the viewership or in the chat, so you'll have somebody to talk to at all points. Yeah. But the whole point of Full Cup is really to distract you while you're in this quarantine. We don't really talk about any of this stuff. We really just jump on other things. I've been asking people what their favorite brand or what type of coffee they love the most, what kind of donuts they like, just trying to figure things out.
And we need a distraction. I hope, God willing, we don't know what's coming, but God willing, we'll be taking a break from this and getting back on track with more topics, but we do want to be a diversion. Yeah. We want to be a diversion from all the stuff that's going on. So that's why we're going to try to get back to real-time, real-life topics
applications
that aren't
exactly
about a virus.
The whole reason we even mention it, for the last 3 episodes now, being this one that it's even brought up, is because you do need to be aware of the information and things. It's important. When we say we want to distract you, we don't mean to distract you from, literally to where you're misinformed or anything like that, or brushing it over our shoulders or whatever.
But you're hearing it everywhere else.
Exactly. So the whole reason we mention it really is just kind of to recalibrate your focus. We'll bring it in. We know what you're used to hearing, so we start with that and bring it down to what you need to hear. That God's going to provide, that there is hope, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It's going to be a lot of good things that come from it. And just because, even Trump saying the next 2 weeks might be painful, long story short is that the pain that we have now can't compare to the joy that's coming.
That's right. Sorrow may last for a night, but joy cometh in the morning.
Exactly. So really, seriously, genuinely, be excited for what is to come. We know that this is tough right now, but if you want to distract yourself, like I said, Full Cup Tuesday and Thursday, 10 a.m. I think you're going to start. Tell me if I'm wrong or right here, but we'll start posting maybe some sermon type stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been thinking about that. I need to do something. I was going to talk to you about that, but I don't have the plans yet. But they will be there.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you don't use it, you lose it. You know what I mean? Right. Talking about that gift. So
I haven't forgot it. I just haven't really had time to plan it.
Exactly.
Busy.
Well, exactly.
But we want to be there for people.
Exactly.
And this is a ministry.
Yep.
And when it comes right down to it, we all need somebody to lean on me.
You support this by watching this. I would not blame you for turning it off.
And I'll be your friend.
Come on, I'll help you carry on for.
It won't be long. You're gonna need somebody to lean on. Life to the full, lean on me. When you're not strong.
Come on, somebody.
I'll be your friend.
Let me hear it, amen.
I'll help you carry on. So
hallelujah.
It won't be long. You're gonna need
somebody need it.
Somebody to lean on.
Jesus.
Lean on me.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, lean on Jesus. That's where you really need to lean. Amen.
But yeah, so Monster, we would appreciate the sponsorship because Bang did not follow through.
Right.
Well, okay.
It's your day. Today is the day of salvation, Monster.
This is the greatest opportunity of a lifetime.
Today.
We're getting at least 200 or more organic views.
Organic. That means there was no tractors or fuel or.
But with your sponsorship, we'll pull in a lot more. So, no, it's been fun. Good episode. Thanks everybody for watching. The only thing we're really going to be plugging is the Facebook page and maybe the YouTube. I say that so subscribe and like those because that's where all the content is going at the moment. And I keep forgetting that we're supposed to have a website. I'll finish it. When everyone else is doing less because of this, we're doing more. We refuse. Yes. We refuse to not be active when it's necessary. All right.
Still stuck on.
Come on.
Lean on me when you're not strong.
Thanks for watching Life to the Full podcast.
I'll be your friend.
Hey guys, go ahead and make sure that you're hitting that subscribe button, which we know is like right up here somewhere. And then click on one of the other videos, unless you're watching it on Facebook, and then you'll just have to go to our Facebook page and look for more. which is super exciting. So go ahead and click one, click, boom, and now you're on the next video. Thanks for subscribing.